You're on the Bible Forum. I'm Warren Sprouse. This is April 29. We're looking at some of the social issues that have taken place in our world while we were paying attention to other things. We have already looked at global events. You may want to go back and check that video. But here we have a teenager who drops out of school, buys an automatic rifle, does so without a permit, without a job, buys a vest and the ammunition to go with it, walks into a school from which he has recently exited, having been suspended. According to his testimony, he says, "Nobody stopped me." And he was surprised. He goes into the boys' room, he gets dressed in his outfit, he loads up his rifle, walks into the hallway and starts shooting the gun. He stops when a boy, apparently he knew, someone in the school, caught a round in his ankle. It really rattled him, and he just dropped everything. Today he's talking about the way kids looked and the way the kids acted when they saw him. He seemed to be moved by it. He seemed to be surprised by it, upset by it. And when looking at him and listening to him, he appears for all the world to be a reasonably intelligent, articulate boy. 15. However, he is clearly not in touch with reality. Why? Has he been living a life on an island someplace, away from adults, away from culture, society, anything? No, he's been living at home, apparently with his parents. But like so many teenagers today, he is living an isolated life. He is isolated from reality. When his chum, co-student, got shot by him in his ankle, he was shaken out of his fuzzy world into reality. He, like so many other young people today, are living in a world of music and internet. They're not in touch with that which is real. They are in this world, but they're not of it. And they are clearly developmentally limited. We might say stifled. You say, well, not my kid, or not the kids I know. Okay. But that's not all of them. And there is a sizable number of children who are easily manipulated, maneuvered, influenced by the culture and by people and groups and things that do not have their interest at heart. Who did this to him? Well, his parents did by default, by not limiting his exposure, by not engaging him, by not actually training him up the way he should go. The media has done their job. Technology is way in there. The culture. And don't forget the school. Schools are not what you thought they were or what they were when you were there. And all of this boils in a stew of 21st century technology. A world that is largely not real. And a world that generally doesn't work. One of the most fascinating and ridiculous components to the trans movement, you know what the trans movement is, right? These people are transitioning from one gender to another. Well, in the components of the trans movement is the extent to which they've been able to sweep all the other movements, the ones that preceded them, out of their place of social prestige within the progressive hierarchy. We're not paying attention to that. We don't see it. We don't understand it because we're not in it. But today, the trans movement, the transgender movement, is openly and aggressively against the old guard. And if you think the old guard are people like me, or maybe like you, then you really are not paying attention. The old guard is the feminist movement. After all, if men can become women, what's so special about women anyway? Or men, for that matter. Trans activists call those with gender fluidity. Gender fluidity are the drag queens. People who go back and forth. They dress up, they go back to work. The next day when they go out, they dress up. They're called TERFs. Trans exclusionary radical feminism. And to date, some confrontations between these groups have been physical. So we have old guard feminists. We have people who like to dress up, the drag queens and such. And we have transgenders. An article from a publication called The Independent says a pride event in Glasgow has banned drag queens from performing after committee members decided acts could offend trans people. End of quote. Apparently, trans and non-binary committee members were uncomfortable with having drag performances. The organization said in a statement that it hopes to create a safe space for all members, get a pencil now, for all members of the LGBTQIA plus society. We're talking about lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, intersex, and asexual. All those different communities. And that while the decision may, quote, disappoint some people, the needs of the most marginalized groups within our community come first. Did you get that? Marginalized groups come first. I can't wait until I am a marginalized group. Let's see how that goes. According to the Charlotte Observer, that's Charlotte, North Carolina, Jennifer Ann Jasmine, who is 40 years old, was born as a biological male. She filed a lawsuit recently against the all-male Lanesboro Correctional Institution. This is where it is serving a sentence for violating his constitutional rights. That's not true. He's serving a sentence. I don't know what his crime is, but he is asserting himself. He is saying in his lawsuit that his rights have been violated because he cannot practice. What? He's a biological male. He's really transgendering, and he's suing the state because they have limited his rights on how he might practice the pagan religion. Now you're going to start stringing all those different characteristics to this guy. Jasmine alleged the prison refused to provide Wiccan-friendly foods. Who knew? While Christian inmates could worship 6 times a week, and Native Americans could conduct rituals 3 times a week. He requested the prison provide religious items used to practice witchcraft. They included candles and fire, and he asked to be able to hold bi-weekly outdoor services. Some of us want to ask him, what part of the word prison is so hard to understand? Professor Jerry Carey, Cronin's challenge became rather infamous on campus there at Boston College. Now its infamy is about to spread nationwide through a documentary called The Dating Project. The Dating Project follows the lives of several men and women who range in age from late teens to their 40s. All of them are single. All of them would like to get married. All of them are rather stymied over how to move from single to married. And as the documentary unfolds, it quickly becomes clear that these young people are sick and tired of the sexed up, non-committal culture in which they live. They look with longing at the seeming ease with which romantic relationships used to be conducted. One of the documentary's subjects, college-age Shanzi, is a perfect example. He or she, I'm not sure what, says, "I think it's so cute when you watch movies and guys are like," what's that called, she asked? "Scouting." Prompted with the word she's looking for, she continues excitedly. "I think it's so cute when guys are pursuing a girl. Because guys just went for girls they liked. And it was great. And you felt special. I just want to feel special. I want a guy to pursue me." But while it's easy to brush off her enthusiasm for more traditional courtship as quaint and overly nostalgic, Professor Cronin believes there's something more going on. And she begins to explain this in her documentary. She says, "It isn't that I'm trying to go back to the 1950s and say, oh, there's some great era of dating there. But there were good things to be retrieved from that era." She says, "I think it's a script that works like manners work. Manners are there to make you feel like you know what you're doing and that you know what to expect." She goes on to say, "The hookup culture is promising you that when you're a young adult or even into your 20s, this dating thing is going to be easy, casual, without a lot of commitment, time, energy, drama. So I say to students, here you are, willing to make out with somebody for 5 hours. Take off some of your clothes or all of your clothes. Do some stuff that's very intimate. And that's more casual than just going for a cup of coffee with someone. And once you say that, they kind of say, oh yeah, okay, that kind of doesn't make any sense. You know they want a way out, but nobody's really offering one. In essence, the current culture has succeeded in throwing off the bands of restraint and structure and sexuality, gender, and every other kind of area you could think of. It has long been encouraged and considered a good thing, but as the singles in the Dating Project demonstrate, the removal of structure and boundaries has actually made things far more difficult in terms of relationships. Would young people and society in general be a lot better off in restoring the manners script that once governed the courtship process? Some of us say yes. Over in Great Britain, in London, how young is too young when it comes to owning a smartphone? At what age do you say your children can have a smartphone? Well, believe it or not, according to a new study, 25% of the children age 6 and under actually own a mobile device. Researchers with Music Magpie, a company that helps people declutter by selling their unwanted electronics online, conducted the study after they noted a 300% increase year over year in customers who were buying first-time phones for their children. A third of parents made the purchase simply because their kids asked for one, while 1 in 5 bought it to keep the little ones entertained. We used to give them silly putty. This is where we're going. Well, over here in the United States, it's not like that. Yeah, it's like that.